Oh, we're live, but I've not got the music ready.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, are Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Dragon!
And we're here to talk about the middle chapter, or the middle chapters of the Retaking the Station storyline.
Well, we're here for the pointless Klingon episode and then into what you said.
Have I watched the wrong thing this last week? I've been rewatching Sons and Daughters, the Aussie soap.
No, don't worry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was going to make that joke.
There we go. We all thought of the same joke.
If I'm honest, I would have probably rather watched from start to finish the Aussie soap opera Sons
and Daughters, tears and laughter and happiness.
Sadness and happiness.
We will find out that our sons and daughters.
Okay, here's your trivia question.
What's about?
Here's your starter for 10. What soap did Sons and Daughters take over from?
Oh, it took over from another
Prison Cell Block H?
No.
Mothers and Fathers?
No. The Sullivans.
The Sullivans?
When the Sullivans came to an end, they started Sons and Daughters.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw the Sullivans. I do remember Prisoner Cell Block H, and I believe Ian Smith, who played Harold from Neighbours, was a prison guard in Prison Cell Block H, and I believe he was in Sons and Daughters as well.
Prison Cell Block H was on TV on the night that they had to interrupt it for the news of the first Gulf War.
Oh, there we go.
They interrupted Prison Cell Block H.
I bet there were complaints about that.
What about the Gulf War? Well, there were a few, actually, because the weapons of mass destruction... No, sorry, that's not what you meant.
That was the second Gulf War.
Oh, yeah, the second was straight up for oil. You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, so as our introduction may have tipped you off, we are talking about the episode Sons and Daughters.
And we're very excited about it. Oh, by the way, just quickly before we start on that, as I messaged you guys in the group, it just made me think, wait a minute. In Star Trek Picard, we had a full series for the third series of all the Next Generation cast. Well, for most of it anyway. We got to explore all their families, what they're up to now. It was kind of setting up for legacy. So you had all these legacy characters. Wolf does not mention Alexander once.
No.
Not once. Like, you've got so much backstory. Like, no matter what time zone he's in, great parent, great dad. Like, he doesn't even mention his son.
I think he's killed him.
Yeah.
I think he got killed in Dominion War.
Yeah, and nobody
went, thank fuck.
Yeah, nobody noticed. Nobody cared.
He just disappears and then suddenly reappears for no good. Like in this episode, they don't justify really where he's been. They don't justify why he's come back, why he's a warrior now. They don't explore really why Worf had already come to peace with the fact that he wasn't a warrior and made friends with him. Now he suddenly didn't like him for it, but now he's a warrior again anyway. But now Alex doesn't want to talk to him for reasons.
Yeah.
I think that seemed like teenage angst why he didn't want to speak to him, because it's like, you'd sent me away to my grandparents, and it's probably for the best and all that, because Rolf was a shit dad.
Yeah.
But Alexander, as his sort of age at twice normal rate.
Again.
It's probably like, because I'm trying to work out, I think it's about 5 years since Worf's seen him. Well, it says it's 5 years.
5 years. So it was born.
He was born.
It was born season 3 of TNG, roughly.
Yeah.
So 4, 5, 6, 7.
That makes him 7, maybe 8.
Yeah.
In this episode.
He's 7 or 8, yeah.
and when we last saw him, he was already clearly about 8 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we know that Alexander grows at a preternatural rate.
Well, I think he exists.
Preternatural, very fast.
I actually think half the time he actually exists outside the normal sphere of time.
Well, the thing is, he actually, we may have used this joke last week, but sod it. I think what happened was he fell through a time hole like Molly, but Worf just didn't bother rescuing him. He was like, he'll catch up with us eventually.
Yeah.
And now he's aged 10 years through that time hole. And that's why he's annoyed at Worf. Actually, that would make a lot more sense than anything we got in this episode.
Yeah.
It would.
There's a lot of things that are sort of teased at the start of the episode, and there's just no answer to them.
No, I mean, I don't know what mission really the Rotundan was on at all. Like, why the stakes mattered.
I know what mission the Rotundan was on.
They were escorting some cargo.
Yeah, they were on the cargo escort mission.
Yeah.
Fascinating. You see, that's why I tune into Star Trek for cargo mission transport support.
Yeah,
that's what I watch for.
Yeah, but it's why the general was a bit pissed off because they weren't in a high stakes mission or anything.
Yeah, he's Mr. Mood Swings this episode. 1 minute he's going, it's like, oh, I want to kill myself. This is so bad. Victory's so awful. Next scene, it's like, yay, we got a mission. It's like, really? Like, you couldn't wait 3 seconds to find out what your mission was.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an odd choice at this point in the season. Like, we've had 2 belting episodes. We're gonna, spoilers for next week, we're gonna have 2 absolutely cracking episodes. And they just decided to plonk this weird Klingon rubbish in the middle of it.
Like, this is part of what you get, because this is both these episodes, existing scenery. You've got a few guest actors brought in, but you hear about missions that are going on and battles that are going on, but you don't actually see anything. Apart from in the next episode, the effect for the changelings, it's a very low on effects episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's what they had to do back in the day. They had to do these episodes where it's dialogue and set pieces, no effects, to be able to save the money for the big episodes they wanted to do. Because if you want to do big, you've got £1 million, let's say, per episode. It was probably less than that back then.
No, it was about $1 million, I think.
Okay, so it's about £1 million, but you've got a major episode with effects and space battles, and that's going to cost $3-4 million. And there's no extra budget coming into your series, so you've got to do some episodes on a shoestring.
Yeah, but it doesn't explain why they didn't write a plot. That's my own.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you've got
like corridor episodes. I get or a capsule.
You've got a really good point there, because you have things like there's been some great episodes
like duets, Drumhead.
The Wire are great examples of how you do a low-budget episode that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the psychological torture which is happening during war. You could have had a Jemadar, which they've captured. That do they use rendition and extreme torture methods because they need an answer in time, or do they stick by their Starfleet principles? You could play that in so many cool ways. Today is a good day to cut the budget. Nice one, Rob.
It certainly was. So I mean, we'll go through it. We'll pick out the highlights.
Okay, we're done then. Brilliant.
I don't mind the B plot with Zial, because it's sons and daughters. The son side of it, not so good. The daughter side, at least there's something there.
To be fair, like, I do remember Sons and Daughters, the Aussie soap.
Yeah.
And this is very much following in its namesake's tradition, because Sons and Daughters wasn't very good.
That's true. It should have finished on a freeze frame, and then a sepia tint comes over the screen.
I forgot that. Yeah. I remember the theme sheet, but I've forgotten that. But I mean, honestly, I'm going to rag on this episode quite happily, but the ZL we get here,
we don't do often on DS9.
No, not very often. We don't get the chance because they usually have a high standard, like all fair play. But the ZL, which, by the way, the finest of all the ZLs, the best of the bunch, and I believe our final ZL, same one as we got last episode and everything. It's great. Yeah. But I've got to give her a lot of credit, actually. She has given quite a lot to put in here, especially since she wasn't necessarily here for the establishing of a lot of the backstory. It's basically someone like there's a couple of scenes where she really broke my heart with the delivery of like, but he's all I've got. Like, you know, yes, my dad might just be Space Hitler, but he's my dad, and I don't get a choice. And like the good people have shunned me because I'm his daughter. So the only person I can turn to is this monster. And I know he's a monster, but still, he's my dad. And he did save my life from a labor camp. And like, he's going to pretend he's giving me a nice dress. You know, it's like she plays it really well.
She does.
Even she knows as a character, there's no justification for what he does.
She's justifying her choices to herself.
Yeah.
And to Kira. And it makes sense. Like, I totally get where she's coming from.
Yeah,
he's evil. Yes, he needs to die, but that's not her fault.
Like, I love the first time she talks to Kira about it, and she's like, Kira says, "Oh well, you know, last time you saw him, he abandoned you to an enemy army, blah blah." And she sort of goes, "Oh well, we've talked about it," and he says he's sorry.
And he
like, all right.
And he explained it was my fault.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I honestly, like, not to bring it down too much, but I know people who've been in abusive relationships and think, you know, which this clearly is.
This is an abusive relationship.
I've seen physical and mental, and the mental is a lot worse a lot of the time because that's what gets people.
This isn't a physically abusive.
So obviously she is emotionally abused to the point. Well, physically she was left to die. It's it's not direct physical abuse, but it kind of is up there. But I mean, she is making excuses for him, which she's obviously heard from him so many times. I think this is really well, like, considering how horseshit the A plot is. This is such a good B plot.
Yeah,
like I almost forgot because the A plot was so bad. But you're right, the B plot is actually really good. I wish it was the A plot. Quite frankly, they could have done so much with this.
It should have been called Daughters and Sons, and then we wouldn't have thought about sons and daughters all week. And so
daughters,
the A plot,
and we wrote him out.
The A plot. Then Alexander turns up. Yay. Martok sort of does talk to Worf a bit about being a shit dad. He's like, you know, your son, why is he so crap and everything?
Before we get to that, when they're going into the credits, they've got, like, it really annoyed me because they've got the bit, he goes like, and who are you? Alexander Rodchenko, which for all the rest of us is the mic drop, go to the credit moments. We clearly know who it is. We didn't know the actor the first time we saw it. But once we know that, go to credits. But then they have to cut to, like, Worf going, it's like, yes, I do know him. He's my son, which if anyone's watched any Star Trek, which usually if you're watching this at this stage, you would have done, you knew that from Alexander Rodchenko. It's like, I get they've got to do it.
I think I think they've got to do it because, yes, clearly we're massive fans. We know this, but you do still get casual viewers of these shows. Yeah. So you have to put that in. Yes, it's my son. And if you like this, that's why DS9 moved off the formula with the long story arcs. Star Trek was always show of the week, and it was kept like that. And characters didn't develop in quite the same way in shows, so that the casual viewer could just, I haven't watched it for a few weeks, but I'll turn it on and this is a good,
I
fun episode story.
You could have written it better, so it's like it was in one thing. So it's like Alexander Rodchenko. It's like Marta goes like, "You look like you know him." Yes, he's my son. Just bring the lines closer together, because otherwise you've got the mic drop moment for people who know what's going on, and then you've got it a couple minutes later for other people when you go to the credits, which isn't a credit moment for us. Do you know what I mean? You've got.
I get it. I mean, it's not like. It's not great.
It pissed off my OCD. Like in a shit episode, it annoyed me that.
It's like to say the A plot is badly written, and this is obviously a thing of the writers' room that you've got. Right, we need a budget-saving episode. Right, you half the room are working on this Alexander story on the ship. You half the room are working on this story. There's got to be none of these characters are going to meet through the episode, so you can do what you want, but it's all got to be dialogue.
Yeah, that's
the story forward. And you can see that there's like one half has gone, what can we do with CL coming back in and all that, and a dad there. Let's put some emotional abuse in and all that. And then you you could have a really good parallel story with Alexander and how he's been estranged from his father and built on it really well, but it just doesn't work what they try to do.
Or if you're going to make him a warrior, like I said last week, you could have made him an artist. You could have made anything based on where we left him. There's no reason not to do that. That could have been really interesting. Could have actually challenged Worf a little bit, because how does he relate to an artistic son as opposed to a warrior son? But they bring him back and they make him a really shit warrior. Like, what? Who is that benefit anyone? How is that good?
And you get all this stuff, like all the other Klingons are laughing at him and everything, and Worf's like, I expect twice as much from you because you are my son and I'm a twat.
Yeah, and it's like when they brought in before, like, you know, they when they brought in the fact that Worf was so uptight, and they brought in the whole backstory of him injuring someone with a soccer ball, sorry. And like they really justify it well. They could have done something so much more interesting here. Like, you know, why is Worf a shit dad? Why does he run away from it? Maybe because he was abandoned by his own birth parents through death, but that's not their fault. But he's worried about them leaving. You could have done such a good episode, which even made the earlier episodes better. But instead, you just write this change
even something
for him in Next Generation.
Even something really basic like looking at Alexander of Kalar and the pain's too much, or, you know, they could have done so much better. And what they do with this episode really is we reintroduce Alexander, we do next to nothing with him, and
we don't really do any character development apart from make him look like the shittest Klingon ever.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't feed into any great change in Worf, and then we bring him back once for a bit of comic relief in the wedding, and then he's gone again. So what was the point?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the ZLB plot, apart from just being better in its own merits, it actually feeds in to the ongoing arc, whereas this Alexander thing doesn't. You could cut this out and it would have zero effect on the arc.
There's no progression of the overall story.
No, nothing
I get
whatsoever.
the feeling we're going to jump about a bit. So it's like at the end of the episode, there is no reason why they come to any piece. Like, you know, suddenly he's throwing him in as part of House Martok, but they really haven't done anything to justify that change in tone between them.
No, not at all. And Worf makes this big speech like, you teach me how to be a better father. It's like, well, your son shouldn't have to teach you that, Worf.
And let's be fair. Troy did this in season 5 and 6 of TNG.
Yeah.
Taught you how to be a better father. We do know that you took notice of Troy because you still have feelings for it, because we've just seen that in Picard.
Yeah, true.
And also, it's like the whole thing of like, they've just... Again, it really boggles my mind. There's one thing to write a crappy episode, which they've quite successfully done with this storyline, but it's the fact that they just copy story beats from the past of Worf and Alexander's relationship. Like, there is no reason why he sent them away again. Again, we had some sort of resolution on him coming to terms with the fact that his son's not a warrior, and that's okay. He can be whatever he wants. So why would he send him away suddenly? But that's why he sent him away originally, it seems, because he didn't know how to be a dad. So they just just copy and paste that.
He didn't want to be a warrior, and doing more good how he wanted to be, growing up with his grandparents and with Worf, because Worf would only want to train him to be a warrior.
I mean, I would have loved him to come back. Like, as I say, if you went down the route of him being something else, like, again, just to put out the air an artist, you have him come back on. And maybe, like, it's not the fact that he sent him away, because that's what Alex wanted. Alex wanted to go away, be an artist, that's fine. Like, where he comes on Deep Space Nine, maybe Worf struggles to relate to a son who's not a warrior again. And maybe he kind of, like, is embarrassed by it, and then he's got to get over himself, you know?
Like, you have it, like, you could have done this really well, that, like, here you have Alexander joins the Klingon Defense Force himself, because he wants to, for reasons that aren't made clear, wants to suddenly be a warrior. How you could have had it is that the Klingons, because the war's going badly, are calling up everyone of a certain age.
Oh, yeah, that'd have been good.
And he gets called up. He doesn't want to be a warrior. He's an artist, and he's resenting having.
Yeah, that'd have been good.
And he's not good at.
How's this? He gets called up and he's a chef. So, like, Worf's embarrassed because he's not a warrior, but then everyone loves him because he's a great chef. And it shows you
and they've
way to be valuable, more than one way to be a warrior.
And Martok gets his dress out.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
And then Cisco's got something to talk to him about because the chef thing.
We've done it. I mean, it's
But
20 odd years later, but we fixed it.
Oh, I could have done it when I was 10 in 5 minutes, I swear.
True.
Like, I was older than 10 when this came out, but you know what?
It would have been a lot better if he had a proper reason why he had to join as a warrior.
Yeah, they've had to bring...
Because just reasons I want to be a warrior.
Yeah, they've had to bring Klingon civilians in. That'd have been a really interesting story to tell.
Well. And you know what the morals of that? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, that'd have been great, but we didn't do that.
Like, to be fair, if you're calling people from the younger generation from the Klingon homeworld, because you do see it's a lot of young ones who've joined. Admit the young ones from Klingon homeworld would be all up for it because they're raised in warrior tradition.
Yeah.
But Alexander was kept out of that for all his life.
No, exactly. That'd have been so much more interesting. And there you go. Yeah, conscription. It makes sense. It's the sort of things the Klingons would have done.
Yeah.
And it'd have made for a much more interesting storyline. Anyway, they didn't do it. So should we talk about the rest of the B plot then, since that's what's actually...
Yes.
So we get this stuff with Zial and her drawings, and I do like the bit where you've got Kira saying, "Oh, it looks like so and so, the Bajoran artist," and Dukat says, "Oh no, it looks like the Cardassian artist." And the idea that you've got these two diametrically opposed cultures, but their art has reflections of each other. I think there's something really, really interesting about that.
If you look at the diversity of different art types that we have.
Yeah,
you could arguably, if that carries on throughout every planet in the galaxy, when you get to Star Trek times, you could, in theory, say that about an artist from every planet. That she has similarities to this artist.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, I think it was very economical as well, because not only did it do that whole thing of like. The idea is she's a product of two worlds, so like it's a struggle, but also what she gets from that. She gets to bring together these types of arts, which no one else would. But it's also like there is a psychological thing whereby we do try and see patterns and things, and we try and basically we're predisposed to try and bond with people over similarities. No, that's something different. No, you're saying that's something
I know what you mean.
That hasn't.
Yeah.
But like we are predisposed to find patterns and things and try to find common ground with people through similarities. So you and that totally reflects the whole theme of Kira. Kira, on one hand, I think there is a temptation for her clearly in this episode to want to go towards some sort of reconciliation, to want to have Zial in her life, obviously. But I think there's part of her who wants to, like, despite everything that's happened, there's a way to have a kind of happier world within this chaos. But every time she's reminded that it's war and what Dukat's trying to do. And I think that's just, I love the complexity of that. It's really good. And
I love the
again, the actress playing Zial does a great job with this.
I love the way that Kira finds herself going down the rabbit hole and
getting
involved, sort of like finds the common ground with Dukat. And it takes the time and she's sort of suddenly, what am I doing? I'm becoming a collaborator.
And there is the moment, like, she does smile when she gets the dress, and she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing of, like, with, there's a lot of reporters and kind of, like, commentators who say it's like, I actively avoid meeting X, Y, and Z personalities or politicians, because if I meet them, you humanize them. You realize that when you're down the pub with them, they're actually a great guy. But that's the same great guy who is... bombing, like, you know, if it's Putin, you know, it's like, oh, he's great down the pub. But, like, you know, the same guy who, when he gets back to his desk, is about to bomb the Ukraine back to the Stone Age. It's like, you can't humanize them on this level. And I think that's what she's struggling with here. Again, that's a really cool, complex thing to cover, which you don't see very often on TV. Like, and again, they nail all the complexities of it.
Yeah, and Dukat just being scummy. Like, the whole thing with the dress is just a brilliant illustration of who he is, that Kira brings it back and completely rejects it. And without even pausing for a second, he's like, oh, I've got you this dress, Zial.
But you've also got that. This takes us back to what we were saying last week, though, with Dukat. Because Dukat is... His victory over Kira is he has to get off with her.
Oh yeah.
It does. It could have her killed like that. It could beat her in lots of physical ways, but that it will not be a victory because he knows you can't avoid the fact he's physically stronger, but he needs to bend her to his will. And this stress thing is part of. I want her to show up looking sexy. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen tonight at this party. But that'll be a little thing on the way that I made her show up sexy.
The worst thing
I picked for her to wear.
Worst thing was he was thinking the same when he gave it to his daughter. That's not okay. It's creepy. No. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's also the fact that with the, I think it's also I think they try to do the same that they're doing with Kira to the audience as well, quite successfully. So because Mark Almeida, is that his surname?
Mark Alamo.
Mark Alamo. Because he is such a charming, great actor, you do, when he's in those moments of charm, you almost forget because he's such a charming personality. So that when they do that creepy thing with the dress, and not the wanting to sleep with his daughter, I was making that bit up. But the thing with the dress, it's a reminder to the audience, like, this is who you're dealing with. It's like, because you get tricked the same way Kira does, which is great.
He's playing the game.
Yeah.
And he, like, as I say, he knows that if he gets her to wear this dress, nothing is gonna happen between them tonight. But it is a little tick in his box that he's made her wear what he wants her to wear.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we've also got to remember as well that it's like, this is what happens when you're doing 26, however many episodes it was, of TV a year. They broke it into the A team and B team, which was very clear from the different plots and how disparatingly good and bad they are. And whoever's kind of script supervisor doesn't have time to go, oh no, that's shit. Let's make the B plot the A plot. Let's get rid of the A plot, get in a new B plot. Because they've got so many hours of TV. Now, if you're dealing with 10 episodes of TV, different crews and different Star Treks, you get time to actually make sure those scripts are in shape.
Yeah.
So I want to just mention that because, it's very easy for us to say, but we're not managing 26 hours of TV.
No, absolutely,
they were against it back then.
Like, if you look at it, they're working on 26 episodes a week, and normally you've got at least an A and a B plot. That's 52 stories have to be written every year. A story fully scripted and worked out and set design, the whole thing.
And sometimes you get lucky and you get a wonderful hour of TV like Masks from Next Generation.
There you go.
Acting porn from Brent Spiner then. Other times it doesn't work out like this, but Masks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that'll about do it for that episode, unless anyone's got any more. I mean, we could just crucify it more, but I'd rather talk about the next one.
I'm still confused why Martok welcomed Alexander into his house just because he was off to learn how to fight off Worf a little bit.
Yeah, probably just to keep Worf on side.
I think it probably was. I think that was for Worf's benefit opposed to Alexander's. And it also maybe protected him from the crew a bit if he's a member of the House of Martok.
Yeah, that's it. They'll have to leave him alone. I don't know. I mean, again, it doesn't scan for Worf. It doesn't scan for Martok.
The whole thing is just...
Yeah, it's just a nothing storyline, and it goes nowhere.
Why do they hate the character of Alexander Vashenko so much? They could have made him so much more interesting. He didn't have to be this shit all throughout every incarnation of.
That's the thing. Like, if you're gonna bring him back, have something to do. Yeah, you could have just left him off screen, and no one would have cared.
You could have had just the A plot on this Klingon ship with new young warriors joining, and a bit of a sort of how they get hazed and all that by the crew as to break in, without bringing back a legacy character and doing nothing with them.
Well, especially since they did so much with Worf, like they brought Worf into his own both in the movies and in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And so when you've got Alexander, why not do the same with him? Why not find what's cool about him? Why not find reasons why he was so shit before, and make him better?
But it's that, why do you bring back a legacy character to do nothing with them?
Yeah.
To not drive the story, sense. It was bizarre. It was bizarre then, and it's bizarre now, and it didn't work. No, half of this daughters of sons and daughters is great. Sons of sons and daughters is crap.
Yep. Agreed. So the next episode then, Behind the Lines, we've got back from our little Klingon sojourn and we can actually get on with the story again now, which is good. And the A plot is all on the station. The people who get the short end of the stick really are Sisko and crew in this one because they barely get a plot. There's a little bit, but not much.
I always thought that beginning scene feels really forced, and obviously because they're going to call it back later. And the end
the phaser thing, yeah.
When Dax has to do it back again, I really feel bad for her because it sounds so by rote. But what else is she going to do? You know, she's got to try and sell it. But it sounds so forced when she does it because it's like Sisko.
Do you know what it reminded me of when I was rewatching it? Mad Max 3 Beyond Thunderdome. When you've got the kids who are rereading sort of like the emergency signals as if it's a prayer. And it's almost like, and you know how they're repeating something and trying to make it sound like the original.
Yeah.
And all that. And it's sort of like, that's the impression I got when Dax was doing what Sisko had done.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. It's weird.
I mean, it's a weird ritual anyway.
I can understand though when Sisko does it, and it is a weird ritual. Why don't they just recharge it?
Yeah,
well, it's a sign. Like we've been fighting for this long.
I
get that.
We'll put it in the mess. Like okay, it's just an odd one. I get what they were going for, but
what do you actually get out of putting Sisko on the station? Because he's back on the ships the next episodes, isn't he? Like he's pretty soon.
But that's because they have to launch the attack.
No, that's because it is. Hold on, lads. I've got a plan.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to do that, swap these 2 episodes around so at least he's had 2 episodes. Like there's a span of time where he's on the stage, you know, why they've made this change. Like plot-wise, it doesn't move anything along particularly.
No, it doesn't. It's just to give him something to do.
I really feel like that's it. Yeah, and it's weird because this episode is kind of the converse. The A plot's really strong, the B plot's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than the plot of the last episode because it's got Sisko in it, but it's still got Alex in it.
Yeah, but the B plot in this one, it moves the story forward a bit.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
It does a bit.
How?
Because Sisko has a plan.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. If we're going to go that paper thin, sure.
Hey. Anybody who does Michael Caine at the end of an episode and goes, hang on, lads, I've got an idea.
yeah. Okay, fair dues.
No. Yeah, not a lot. So the main plot then, we've got back on the station and we've got the Resistance finally starting to do something. And I do enjoy that scene where they sort of stood on the balcony in Quarks and commentating on what Damar's doing, and it's he's coming up here and he's got this pad and they're a bit annoyed. It's not what they were expecting. It's just really good.
Now, this is quite an important line. He's coming for his drink at the end of his shift, and it's establishing that Damar likes to drink when he's not working.
Yes, good point.
And this comes back later when you have, just before he becomes the hero of Cardassia.
You're right,
Wayun sort of notices there's a difference in you. You're not drunk.
You're
right.
Drunk when Descartes dies.
Yeah, but this is
that's really
but this
good.
is like the first time that it's sort of established
that
Damar likes.
Yeah, but We both agree. That's a totally great point.
Yeah, excellent. You're right. I've not picked up on it, but that's really good. Long term, just sowing the seeds of it
I
all.
feel really, really bad for Jake, though. Just like he's trying his best. He's just getting shat on by everyone. It's like, will you give me any interview? Vorta, no. Will you give me an interview? Kira, no. Can I join the Resistance? Still no. It's like he's just there to be shat on for these 6 episodes.
Yeah, he don't get very far,
He
does
made
he?
a very bad decision staying on the station.
Yeah. I mean, again, I mean, in all fairness, I think we let it slip by because there's more wonderful things and more egregiously bad things. But he really gets the bums rush in the same way Alex does. He's there basically to just feel just to give him something to do.
He's a screen filler.
He would have been so much more interesting if you'd left him on the Defiant and he was like acting as a nurse, which he does in other episodes, and he's trying to report on things. He could have even could add some bits of narration as opposed to the Captain's log. You have his thing he's writing, like they've done in other episodes. That would have given him something nice.
And they do try and give him a little bit of something where they've got him going, well, I'm a writer, I've got contacts, and it's like, no, you aren't really, Jake. Quite knows everything. I mean, you don't know what we don't know.
They essentially, because they did Sons and Daughters, didn't have time to cover this, I think, in the 6 episodes. But you could have, it could have been really interesting, like in the same way that Kira.
Because Sons and Daughters had so much going on in it.
Well, exactly. But because Kira, like the same way in which Kira has that kind of crisis of conscience of like, what am I willing to do to keep alive and keep people alive versus actually fight the good fight. You could have the same thing of him, like where they have earlier on his story being rejected. How much will he water down the story to get it past, or how much
that'd have been good, yeah.
And you could have not done the son's part of Sons and Daughters and say he could have been the son instead. That would have been better.
That would have been a lot better, yeah. But alas, anyway. And then you get the first sort of bit of this tension between Kira and Odo, that Odo's like, well, I didn't want to do that plan. And Kira's, yeah, but we all decided it was a good idea. And it's the first bit of this. Odo's a little bit resentful of Kira, doesn't like being left out of the loop. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just pissy. It's pissy Odo throughout this. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, and how he's, okay, the changing thing I get, but he was already being a little bit of a bitch.
I think, like, even before it gets to the changeling thing, this episode and last episode, he's trying to act like he's still the constable and just keep peace on the station. And he's not interested in what's actually going on in the galaxy. All he's actually focused on is keeping peace on that station.
I would also throw in, I wonder if the very subtle sub-suggestion, like, you know, the subconscious suggestion in this is that he's also, maybe because it is his people he comes from, maybe there's a bit of inner turmoil, which like it's not mentioned, but I think that's in there somewhere.
We have had that, haven't we, when Garrick tortured him. He said, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Exactly. And throughout this, he ends up joining the link. And even before that, he's wavering before his link with them. So I think that wavering is him maybe fighting that inner turmoil. Like these are his people, much like with Ziao. Like, they're all I've got. Like, these are the people I come from. You're my family now, but they're where I come from. They're the answers I've been looking for all my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that does, like you say, come into focus when the female shapeshifter turns up. And a bit like with Descartes forgiving Zial for everything she did wrong, the changeling's like, don't worry, Odo, we've forgiven you now. You can come back.
Yeah, and he goes, you've forgiven me? I do like that. I think I do love, like, and obviously René Auberjonois, wonderful acting job as always. The turmoil which he shows in this. And I think, like you're right in comparing it to Zial, because I think it's him he wants to believe, like, you know, in the next episode when he does the turn back, like, he wants to believe so much that they're about more than they are. And then when they show they're not, that's what breaks him. So it's kind of, it's really, really well acted. I love that the levels of conflict you've got in any scene during the war is just incredible.
And there's a good scene with Decat and Wayoon where they're both trying to impress the founder, and they do sort of have an aside commenting on it, don't they? Where it's like they always like this, like yeah, they're actually worse than this most of the time.
I do like how Wayoon's really fawning and all that, and the war's going well. Yes, but only because I'm following your direction, founder.
Yeah.
And then you've got Decat saying that. I'm leading this war really well, and because of my leadership, and then Wayoon turns to the founder. I assure you, I'm involved in every military decision.
Yeah, but it's so interesting the way they do it as well, because Wayoon's always trying to kiss up to the founders, whereas like Decat's always trying to prove that he's
big himself up.
It's almost that I think he's learned that he's not going to get away with saying he's an equal. But he's like pretty much, it's like if he can get their attention, they will realize he's actually an equal.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Decat's head, the Dominion have just been a means to an end, and he's gonna make Cardassia great again, or strong again, as he puts it, sorry. And at some point the penny's going to drop there. It's like, no, there's absolutely no chance of that, Decat. Like, these guys own you completely.
The one thing I'm really annoyed is that we never got Decat in the Mexa hat.
yeah, that'd be good.
MCSA, make Cardassia strong again.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry.
The Mexa hat.
That'd be really good. And Quark could be selling them on the promenade.
Yes.
That'd be really good. We should have them made.
He'd have other ones which are make Bajor great again, like just ready to swap.
I'd have all of them, yeah. We should have them made for a convention. We'll have make Cardassia strong again hats.
Right, that's happening.
Yeah, we'll get on Redbubble. We'll have that done.
You'll get the badges done, but that's another thing.
Yeah, we need to get on our merchandising a bit better.
We've got a while till next weekend.
Yeah, the hats are on the way. We'll do.
I've been trying to work out a new design for a new shirt because that's an old one. Is that one?
That's an old one. I've got a newer one, but anyway. So
that was sort of a fly on.
Oh, you've got a new one, have you?
I've got a new one. Yeah, Elliot got me it for my birthday a couple of years ago.
I made a one-off.
It's a one-off.
It was a better one. Yeah, we should the logo with all the captains. That would be good.
Yeah, we could do that. But no, we'll have Make Cardassia Strong Again hats. And if you want one, let us know in the comments and we'll see if we can sort it out. Yes, so the founder and Odo then have a bit of a chat. And Odo's bitching about his feelings for Kira. Which is a good callback because obviously the female changeling knows all about this from that one where she pretended to be Kira stuck in a rock.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the greatest episode, but at least it's paying off now.
Although after Sons and Daughters, it seems so good.
It does.
But the female changeling's really clever and manipulative here.
Absolutely,
I think she's manipulating Odo all the way, and she's really understanding that he has feelings. And she said, "Of course you have feelings. She's your friend. She's been there for you. Why wouldn't you? You love her. Yeah, of course you do. Why wouldn't you?" And it's really manipulative. Everything she's saying.
It is, and it's all
going along.
It's all to get him to link with her, and I feel like there's almost an addiction metaphor to all of this. It's like if I can just get him to have a little sip of the link, then that'll be it. He'll have to have more. But
she does admit that she needs the link. She's come there because she's missing the link.
True.
She needs it.
Yeah, and I think also there's these sort of. I think in her head she's not lying to him either, or not manipulating. So because she's saying it's like, oh no, of course she's your friend. In her head, what she says, like to finish the sentence, is like, because he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know that they're just.
Have we gone past the episode yet where we have the changeling that's been off further away? And it's
that's nearly at the end, actually. That's season 7.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it fell. But you're having that one, the first time he links with Odo. And that. All he wants to do after that is link.
Yeah.
So this addiction thing makes a lot of sense. It's
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And she's playing to that because she knows that that's something that they can give to Odo that literally no one else can.
Yeah.
And it's a way to assert a little bit of power over him. And Odo does sort of fall for it. Like when he talks to Kira, he says, oh no, she's trying to help me. And like, Kira's having none of it.
I want your opinion on this because we have this weather link for the first time, him and the Changeling in the quarters. And then there's stuff that Kira has to come talk to Odo about. And he talks to her, when he's talking to her, and Kira goes, where is she? Oh, she's not here anymore. And it sort of made me think, because later on when Kira goes in, and then after the conversation, the Changeling's there because she's been an object in the room. Right. And I wondered if when he says here that, oh, she's not here anymore, he's got into that feeling that when she's a different object, it's not her.
Right. So you think she might have been there?
She might have been there hearing the whole thing all along.
I like it, yeah.
And I think once Odo's linked, you can't trust a blind word he says. He could be just out and out lying on purpose. Yeah. It's like she doesn't need to know that she's here. Because I think when he gets a link, he maybe gets a bit of feelings transference because he's not skilled enough in the link to be as dominant as them. But
he also gets that where he doesn't think of her as being there when she's something else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like it, yeah. Then Kira has a really interesting line where she says, well, after the war's over, you can rejoin the Great Link and I won't stop you, which, spoilers, is exactly what happens in the series finale. So I thought that was, I wonder if they had that in the minds at this point anyway, that's where Odo's story is going to finish.
I honestly think at this point in this series that individual episode storylines obviously weren't written, but there was an overarching the main story arc was right. We have to go till season 7, and I think from season 5, maybe season 4 onwards, a lot of it there was certain pinpoints that at some point we are off to hit these points where these things are going to happen, and where we're going to put in the little seeds of it, because this is.
I think you're right.
Because there's far too many coincidences.
Well,
that crop up. That when you've watched it all, as we've watched it lots of times because we love DS9, you can see, you notice where the first seed was to where its payoff was. Season 2 seasons later.
It's like the line Descartes says just before they leave the station. He goes like, "Oh, Cisco, if you love the Prophet so much, why don't you just go and live in the wormhole with them?" You didn't think about it at the time, but you know.
Yeah.
No, it's really good stuff. Just a bit to pick out of the B plot. It's around this time in the episode where they've got this whole thing about, oh, well, you need to call Dax captain because whoever's in charge is rightly addressed as captain. And this applies to this episode and this episode only. And this never comes back, really.
No, I guess it explains other episodes where you've got other people in charge and they call them captain. It's like, we got a minute in this. Let's explain that away.
They do it in other shows more than this. But they never call Worf captain, and he's always captain in the Defiant.
I've just remembered something, and I want to go back to it from the last episode, right at the start.
No.
Oh, God.
O'Brien is bitching to Julian again about rations that he doesn't
like. It is. You're right.
It annoys the hell out of me.
It just jumped into my head when we're thinking traditions and all that. Because it's O'Brien who explains the tradition thing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, it's like the other one which bugs me.
It is established O'Brien likes rations.
He loves them.
It's the same as like when they got an episode where he goes like self-stealing symbols. It's like, oh, you know what they are? No, I just read it on the manifest. And then every other time when he's talking about stacking, he goes like, they don't know their spanner from a self-stealing symbol.
Yeah.
You just found out what they are, you dick.
Maybe he's just really happy that he now knows what they are, and he's going to rub it in every chance he gets.
Everyone else that they do.
He's one of them people who he reads something. And then he deliberately drops it into conversation, whenever he can to try and look impressive.
I have got to throw in here though, because we're talking about O'Brien. I do love, like, this is one of the things I love the most about, like, the leveled up version of Nog. The same way we talk a lot about the leveled up Bashir. I love him in the later series when he's got more to do, when he's an engineer and everything. And it's like when he kind of parries off O'Brien and they kind of got like that mentor-mentee relationship. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, and he's got such a sense of humor about himself, which he didn't when he was younger, which makes sense because a lot of people, when they find their focus, they aren't so defensive because, you know, they feel like they've got to cover something up. It's just so nice. And it's like, I even enjoy the earlier episodes with him more because I know what he's going to become. And I know this is him feeling lost and not getting on with school. And, you know, something a lot of us can empathize with.
Another nice Nog thing I think they do in this episode, and it crops up twice, but right at the beginning when they're doing the phaser ritual, and Nog walks in with Sorry and Brandy, and he goes, "Don't ask where I got it. I might be a cadet, but I'm still a Ferengi."
Exactly. They use, like, and I mentioned this before, they use his Ferengi-ness well. Like, they get it as a little bit of seasoning to his character, but it's not like, the problem is with Ferengi characters, they can sometimes just use it as a default setting of, like, standard Ferengi.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, Quark was a lot better than that from day one. But, like, let's face it, Nog and Rom were basically just goofy Ferengi characters. And they got given so much more.
In the first episode or two, they were standard Ferengi, but they got developed, and they got developed really well.
Well, they did eventually, but even like Rom, I didn't. For the first few series, I still do hate the fact that he does a goofy voice. Like, the first few episodes, he's just doing a standard voice, and then he suddenly goes to, "Oh, I'm a dumb guy." It annoys. It's
the
so
pilot episode. Rom's voice is completely different, but
exactly.
No, I was just on a couple of things. I mean, when Nog turns up with the Sorry and Brandy, it reminds me of Henry IV, first part, Act 4, or Scene 3, when it's come with gracious offers from the king. And also, like I said, I really hate it when people just read something and drop it into conversation.
But Jim, why did you read that out? I think we all knew where you were going with that. I mean,
it just popped into my head, and I thought, no, but yeah, honestly, go to one emissary for Rom's voice. It's so weird.
That's my point. Yeah, I annoyed the hell out of me. It's like, oh, he's a dumb character, so let's do goofy voice. It's a patronizing character, and where he becomes more interesting as he goes along. Even then, when you've got that voice, I'm like, that's really distracting because you're showing that he's evolved more, but now you're stuck with that voice.
Good Ferengi stuff, though. I love Quark getting Damar drunk, and then when he turns up to tell the Resistance what's going on. And this pays off even more next week with Quark. Up until this point, he's been like, I just want to run there, I don't care. But this is where he admits, like, no, I miss the Federation. And he gets himself drunk enough that he's like, right, I'm going to be an informant for the Resistance now. And it's not totally out of character because we know that he used to help the Bajorans when the previous mission.
This is
a really nice scene.
It's a really well-established character trait of Quark's that we don't see often,
Well, I think that's why he's such an interesting, well-written character, because, like, even when he is going too far and he's trying to, it's almost like he's trying to prove himself that he cares about profit more than anything else. Like, you know, the episode where he's selling guns, or the episode where he does a million one other, like, evil things, but it's to try and convince himself. And the second that the Federation, like, and the people in the station look disappointed in him, he's like, fuck, I do like them. Damn it, I do. Okay, I love free beer. I love the Federation. Damn you, bastard. Yeah. Like, he's annoyed with himself because he knows at his heart he's not. That makes him so much more interesting straight from the get-go.
He's a great character, is Quark. And then all of this culminates, though, in that Odo doesn't do his part of the plan linked with the founder at the time. And I remember the first time I watched it, I was like really shocked by this. It's a really well done twist that Odo gets suckered in that far.
But wait, the whole thing is that, like, the news that Quark comes out with is Damar has worked out how to bring down the minefield.
Yeah.
And it's Odo that says, I can do this at this time, and you will be able to stop it happening.
Yeah, and you've even got I think it's really interesting as well when they I know it's going to next week's episodes, but I find it really interesting that the solution when he kind of turns around, they don't have a huge scene or a huge moment for it. Basically, he just does the right thing, and they realize that it's such a tight next couple of episodes that they don't want to over labor it by giving him a scene where he talks about it. They just do it they trust the audience by just doing it by example. And then later on, you deal with the fallout in a future episode where he goes into a closet with Kira and they don't get 9 minutes in heaven before anyone gets excited. Yeah, I think that was just super smart and super trusting of the audience. And you kind of see it here. It's basically he just turns without a big moment. It's just, oh yeah, I just realized it's not my problem anymore. And it's so cold for it because they don't lead into it as you usually would. They just let it happen. It's it's so much more
it's
creepy for it.
It's busy. Let's be honest. Instead of turning off the alarms or the sensors for 5 minutes, which he says he can, he's shagging the female shapeshifter.
Basically, yeah.
Oh yeah,
he is.
And he gets to have Kira later too. I mean, really, he's just he's having it every way.
He's a player, is Odo.
Don't blame me if you're upset with that. I didn't write it, but anyone watching or listening.
No, nor did we write Sons and Daughters either.
Oh, hell no. Not even 10-year-old me didn't write it. And, he could have probably put a good episode of Star Trek, but he could have done better than that.
But yeah, I feel like the way this episode leaves it, it's done all the groundwork it needed to do to set up what is essentially a finale to this arc. And it's done interesting things with the characters. It's got everyone where they needs to be, and it's heightened the tension and everything. Yeah. The B plot's the B plot. Nah.
Ron's arrested. Damar's been shown to be a drunk, but he's worked out how to bring the minefield down. Quark's missing the Federation, and he's now going to help the Resistance.
Yeah, and Alexander died in action. Oh, sorry, that was my dreams. That was my dreams last night. Sorry,
Dax has completed the mission.
Yeah, true.
That we don't see, but she has completed the mission, and she's destroyed the big sensory ray that is being the Dominion's advantage. Why the Dominion have always turned up wherever they go.
You're right. Yeah, the time is ready for a strike now on the Federation side.
When you think about this. This is a major military event that's happened, and we don't see a thing of it on screen because these are budget-saving episodes.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
But we're gonna next week when we cover the next 2 episodes, we're gonna see it on screen. So I'm looking forward to talking about that one. Has anyone got anything else on these 2 then before we wrap it up?
No, we've covered the plan. We've covered Nog. We've covered Sorry and Brandy.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. So
that's the point.
Oh,
there's one thing, and I'm watching it back, and it confused me just at the end when we're back on the Starbase, which is actually a really crap model that they built.
Oh, I was going to say, I was actually, you remind me, I quite like the Starbase shots. I thought it was really cool.
But there's a point where Bashir goes over to Dax, and what's he talking about? When he's sort of so when she got injured on comm and I took over, will he mention it?
Yeah, I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember.
Oh, I heard it wrong. But it just seemed really...
Yeah.
Because we're seeing, because at the start of this little arc, we saw that Bashir was in charge of everything related.
Yeah, it's true, it was, yeah.
No, I was, just very quickly, sorry, just because you brought it up, I really liked the space. It wasn't just me who liked that station. I thought it was classic.
I just thought it looked a bit...
I thought it was the one from the motion picture.
It was really clear, and the detail you got on it, I thought was really nice. Like it, I know we talk about this a lot, but it was like the MT Discovery. It was just really detailed, really clear shots of it. It was certainly modelled on the ones from the movies. Like back then, they used to like this is a look at something.
I just thought it looked like it had some very square pieces compared to what we were used to from Federation star bases.
I thought it was really nice to have some really nice up closes. You don't often get up close on the space stations, which this really
that's true. I didn't mind it, but we'll have a good look at it next week. So if you want to get in touch with us, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter, retrekpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. Elliot, what's going on with Retrek Model Studios at the moment on YouTube?
We're still on the Ferengi shuttle. I've got a video ready to release. I didn't get anything done last weekend because it was bank holiday weekend and I went out and did stuff instead.
That's fair. Dr. Squee, what have we got on the Dr. Squee show?
Actually, I need to update this banner because it's now, due to the fact that I'm working, it's just going to be 7 till 8 from now on sw20radio.co.uk. Also on drsquee.com if you want to watch the video episodes. It's actually exclusive just for here. On a Saturday morning, time to be confirmed, I'm going to be interviewing comedian Ian Smith, who does the podcast, hilarious podcast, Northern News, and he's a great stand-up.
Excellent.
And that'll be on the radio show, 7 to 8. So basically, if you do listen to the radio show, it'll be most weeks it'll just be pure chat, no music. But if I get a short interview, I'll chuck in a couple of tunes. But it's going to mean I can just basically use the audio from the video and just whack it up. I won't have enough time to edit and stuff like
that. One last thing, MCSA hats. If anybody is interested, drop us a message on the Retrek page, and we're gonna look at putting them together for us street. And if
that's going to be our thing. I think we should have them, instead of being red, we should probably have them yellow to match the Gallo class.
Black and yellow.
Yeah, match the ships and things. We'll work on it. We'll get it.
Yellow with red writing. So it's kind of suggestive of the what we could do is we can get a proof together and put it up so that people can.
We will. We'll get it worked out. We'll get it worked out.
Let's do some work.
So thanks for trekking with us this time, and we'll see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Fascinating.
Sorry, in a rush, Jim. Drag off LLAP.
Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you drag on. Do you want to do it again?
Drag off LLAP.
Thank you.
Rah.
You go now.